Hi, Ready. Welcome to week 4. As always, I'm very excited to see your work for this week. This week is entirely about expanding and revising your draft body paragraphs for Essay 1, especially expanding. So let me just take you to the one thing that you have to read this week, which is this handout about revision. And we'll talk more about revision in class. But revision is really, really important. It is the biggest part of writing. Writers revise everything that they write. Nothing ever comes out correct the first time. So revision is a really important skill to learn. You'll need it in this class and you'll need it in English 101. So do not think you can skip the revision part of writing. You cannot. In fact, you should spend more time revising than you spend drafting. So I have this handout for you this week and it gives you an overview of revision. And I just want to take you to two things. One is this handout has an overview of your essay structure. And that gives you kind of like the basic parts of your essay to help you organize your essay so you sort of know how it's supposed to look. Your introduction talks about your topic. It asks a question, and the question is usually the assignment question. So in this case, it's who gets to be lucky. And then your thesis is your answer to that question. You may not know what your thesis is right away. You may have to start with what you think your answer is, and then you write it for a while. And a lot of times, by the time you get to your last paragraph, you know what your thesis is. You take it from your conclusion, you put it in your introduction, and then you start revising. This handout also has some details for how your body paragraphs should look, and you have the body paragraph handout that was in week 2 or 3. I can't remember. But you have that handout as well that talks about what a body paragraph is. And this handout talks about the kind of how revision works, that you do like the big picture of revision first before you look at like grammar and spelling and stuff. And part of that big picture or global revision is 2 phases. One is revision to expand and the other is revision to focus. So the first step is to come up with more ideas. That's revision to expand. The next step is revision to focus. That's when you have lots of ideas and you have a wonderful big mess and you need to figure out how to make sense of it. Right now, since you just did your draft and you only had to do 2 paragraphs, we're going to focus on revision to expand. We're also going to start there because it's a place where a lot of people struggle. A lot of us have a hard time just coming up with ideas. So here's what not to do. Don't ask Google. If you don't know what to say, if you're out of ideas, don't ask Google. I can ask Google myself. I want to know what you think. Your ideas are really valuable to me. And the whole point of this class is for you to develop your ideas. So don't ask Google. Don't go do more research. You have everything you need already in the class. Don't go looking for more articles or more websites or whatever. Use more of what we have in the class or make more use of what we have in the class. And don't just say the same thing again and again. Ask yourself some questions like, why do I think that? And what do I mean by that? That can help you go more into depth rather than just saying the same thing repeatedly. And don't just get frustrated. Remember, writing is problem solving, and we can solve those problems. We'll do that together. So do go back to the reading, go back to the notes, go back to the discussion boards. You have weeks of discussion boards now with your ideas and other people's ideas. You can quote from the discussion boards if you want to. There's all kinds of stuff there. Go back to your previous writing. Use your system of privilege reflection assignment as a way to get your ideas going and to build on your ideas. You can also focus on a particular sentence that you've already written and add more to it. You can go back to a quote, and this is my favorite one. Find more quotes. If you have run out of things to say, go back to the reading, find more quotes. Maybe put 2 quotes together. If you can take like a quote from Amy Hunter's TED Talk and a quote from Alan Johnson's essay and put those 2 things together, talk about how they relate, talk about what you think about them together, that is a great way to shape a paragraph. And you could do different things. You could do one where you take that Patricia Rice essay and you take Alan Johnson and you put those 2 quotes together and you talk about what they're saying. So that's some strategies. What I want to do now is actually kind of show you what this looks like. So I'm going to come over here. Okay, and here's what I did, just to kind of like talk you through my process a little bit. So we started this video on that Amy Hunter video. Here, let's just pop over there real quick. So I watched the video with the closed captioning on and found a part that kind of spoke to me that I could work with. And I took some notes on that. And I'll show you my notes. So here's my notes. So what I did was like I wrote down the quote. It took me just a minute, like, you know, with the closed captioning on. I wrote down the quote that I liked from her, and then I wrote the essay question there in a box, and then I answered that. There you go. Maybe you can see that a little better. You can see I started out just writing on paper, taking those notes, and then I came over here and I'm going to start doing some writing. So I wrote down the quote. Amy Hunter describes how VA loans and the GI Bill after World War II moved white Americans from working class to middle class in just the same generation. Other races, and she says African Americans, but I think it may be more than that. It's other races as well. It's probably Latinos and probably to some extent Asians, but other races as well, didn't get access to those resources in the same ways. And the reason why I grabbed this quote was because it means a lot to me personally. My parents were born pretty poor. They were definitely born working class, but they were able to buy a house in a nice neighborhood in New York. And that house was what was able to move my family from being working class to being middle class in just one generation. So this was a quote that I felt like I could work with, I could connect with, I could do something with. I'm not going to write specifically about my family in this paragraph, but I'm going to use the knowledge that I already have, the stuff I already know from my own family's experience, to kind of talk about this quote a little bit. So I'm just going to think out loud now, and that's how I'm going to go about doing some writing. So if you are having trouble coming up with ideas, this is the kind of thing you might do. You might go grab a quote and then do this. So it says, other races didn't get access to those resources in the same ways. And I'm going to just start writing. This is important because buying a house is one of the main ways that families build wealth. Wealth is different from just having money. Wealth is when you have something to pass on to your children. I don't know that I'm going to keep that. I have a feeling I'm going to take that out of my final version because it's just not, I'm writing it down, but it doesn't really fit there. Buying a house in a decent, I don't really love that word, but I'm going to leave it there. And then you see there's like typos, whatever here. Neighborhood is really important because it changes a whole family. Buying a house can mean that your children get better access to a good education. Buying a house is also a significant investment that pays off. Real estate almost always increases in value, especially because people usually own the houses they lived in for a long time. So over that time, the value of the house increases. Instead of paying, right? So I'm thinking about maybe, let's say $1,200 in rent, and then at the end of 10 years, you have nothing. You can pay $1,200 in mortgage, and at the end of 10 years, you have a house you can sell. Okay, there's a lot that's going to come out of this paragraph. There's a lot of junk in this paragraph, but I'm just thinking stuff through. So your house, I don't like that. What zip code your house is in is also important. So if some people get to buy houses in good neighborhoods, whoa, my typing is just getting worse, and other people don't, then the people that get to buy houses definitely have a big advantage economically. Their children will have better educations, and they will be more likely to build wealth rather than always living paycheck to paycheck. So when Amy Hunter points out that only white people had access to government housing loans, she is showing that the government gave advantages to some people, white people, and not others. Okay, so there we go. I just was kind of like thinking on the page. It's a mess, but that's how I took a quote and did some writing about it. So that's what you should be doing as well. And I hope that helps you with seeing how you can take a quote and use that to expand your thinking. In class this week, we're going to keep talking about this. We're going to keep talking about Essay 1. And I look forward to seeing your work. I'm going to end this because I don't want this video to go too long. I know it's hard to watch a long video. Stay safe, everybody. Stay safe and warm and snuggly out of the snow. Bye.